I'm Charlotte. 300 days ago, my husband sent me a single text while I was about to speak at the biggest conference of my career. I sold the apartment, and I want a divorce. Just 6 words. Enough to shatter 8 years of marriage, my career, and every ounce of trust I had in love. But what he didn't know? The apartment was in my name, and I was more ready for the fight than he ever imagined. Before I share the full story, with twists you won't believe, drop a comment to let me know where you're watching from, hit that like button, and subscribe if you've ever survived something that almost broke you. Trust me, you'll want to hear what happened next. The notification pinged on my phone just as I stepped into the conference room at the Marriott Marquis. New York's skyline glittered through floor-to-ceiling windows, but the message made everything blur. Can't wait anymore. Already signed the contract. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over Brandon's name. What contract? My hands trembled as I excused myself from the PR summit I'd been planning for months. Brandon, what are you talking about? My voice echoed in the marble hallway. I sold the apartment, Charlotte. His tone was flat, clinical, and I want a divorce. The words hit like ice water. I gripped the wall, my knees suddenly unreliable. Apartment 73 wasn't just our home. It was supposed to be our forever. The place where we'd planned children's bedrooms, painted walls together, made love on Sunday mornings. You can't sell it without... It's done, he cut me off. The buyer's already put down earnest money. I hung up. My reflection in the hallway mirror showed a stranger, pale, shaking, lost. At 35, I thought I knew my life's blueprint. PR specialist, loving wife, Seattle resident in a high-rise with a view of Elliott Bay. The flight home stretched like a funeral march. I replayed our 8 years together, searching for signs I'd missed. The late nights at the office that grew later. The way he'd started checking my credit card statements. How he'd insisted on handling our finances because numbers stressed me out. But I had my own secret. 8 months ago, when we'd refinanced, I'd quietly transferred the apartment title to my name only. Brandon had been too busy with his startup to read the papers he signed. A small voice, maybe my father's gambling-induced chaos echoing from childhood, had whispered to protect myself. I'd never told him. Now that whisper felt like prophecy. My phone buzzed again. This time, my best friend Avery's face lit the screen. "Charlotte, where are you? You disappeared from the conference." "Flying home," I managed. "Brandon's leaving me. He thinks he sold our apartment." "He what?" Avery's voice sharpened. She wasn't just my college roommate anymore. She was Seattle's fiercest divorce attorney. "Charlotte, listen to me. Don't do anything until I meet you at the airport." As clouds swallowed the plane, I pressed my forehead against the window. Below, America sprawled in neat grids and winding rivers. Somewhere down there, my husband was probably celebrating his freedom with champagne I'd bought. The thing about betrayal is how it rewrites history. Every sweet memory suddenly had footnotes. Every "I love you" came with an asterisk. When had he stopped meaning it? When had I become an obstacle instead of a partner? Landing in Seattle felt like entering a crime scene. Avery waited at baggage claim, her power suit immaculate despite the late hour. "Tell me everything," she said, steering me toward her car. As rain drummed against the windshield, I spilled the story. She listened with laser focus, occasionally asking sharp questions. When I mentioned the title transfer, her eyes gleamed. "Charlotte, if he took money for a property he doesn't own, that's fraud. Real estate fraud." She merged onto I-5. "Your apartment isn't just safe. He might have just handed you a winning lottery ticket." Avery's downtown office smelled like leather and vindication. She'd pulled Brandon's financial records within hours, benefits of handling half of Seattle's high-profile divorces. "Charlotte, you need to see this." She turned her laptop screen toward me. Wire transfers, dozens of them, all flowing between Brandon's account and something labeled Monroe Holdings. "Jill?" I guessed. My mother-in-law's maiden name was Monroe. Avery shook her head, fingers flying across the keyboard. "Not Jill. The account's registered to Vanessa Monroe." The name hit like a slap. Vanessa, my former assistant. The one I'd fired 6 months ago for consistently undermining my client relationships. the one who'd always laughed a little too long at Brandon's jokes. He's been transferring money to her for, Avery scrolled. Jesus, Charlotte, almost a year. A year. While I was planning our anniversary trip to Paris, while I was defending him to my mother, while I was taking the blame for our dead bedroom because he was stressed about work. There's more. Avery's voice gentled. The earnest money from the apartment sale? It's already in their joint account. I stared at the numbers on screen. Our savings, my savings, hemorrhaging into their love nest fund. The room spun. I need air. Outside, Seattle's February drizzle felt appropriate. I walked without direction, letting the rain mix with tears I couldn't stop. How had I become this cliché? The oblivious wife, the last to know? My phone rang. Brandon. Where are you? He sounded annoyed. I'm at the apartment with the movers. Movers? I laughed high and sharp. For what, Brandon? It's not your apartment to empty. Silence. Then, what are you talking about? Check the deed. Check the papers you signed during the refinance. I was walking faster now, fury replacing grief. The ones you were too important to read? You're lying. Am I? Call your real estate agent. Ask them to verify ownership. I'll wait. I heard muffled conversation. Probably with Vanessa. Good. Let her know exactly what kind of man she'd stolen. One who'd sell a house he didn't own, who'd sign papers without reading them, who'd move money like a shell game. This is illegal, he finally sputtered. You tricked me. No, Brandon, you tricked yourself. And when you took that earnest money, you committed fraud. I hung up and called building security. This is Charlotte Evans in 73. My ex-husband might try to remove property. He's no longer authorized for entry. The security guard, Thomas, who'd watched us move in as newlyweds, sounded sympathetic. I'm sorry to hear that, Mrs. Evans. We'll make sure nothing leaves without your permission. Walking back to Avery's office, I passed Pike Place Market. Vendors hawked fresh flowers, their bright colors garish against gray sky. An elderly couple shared an umbrella, laughing at some private joke. That should have been us in 30 years. Instead, I was planning legal warfare against a man whose pillow I'd shared last week. Avery met me with coffee and tissues. You okay? No. I accepted both gratefully, but I will be. Good, because we have work to do. She pulled up more documents. Vanessa's not just his mistress. She's been incorporated as his business partner. They're launching a competing firm using your client contacts. The coffee turned to acid in my stomach. My contacts, built over years of late nights and perfect pitches. He wasn't just leaving me. He was trying to destroy me professionally, too. How long until he realizes about the apartment? Thomas just called. Security turned Brandon away. He's upset. I smiled grimly. Good. Let him taste confusion for once. Thanks. Apartment 73. Felt like a mausoleum when I finally returned. Brandon's presence lingered. His coffee mug in the sink, his running shoes by the door, the indent of his body still visible on his side of the bed. I stood in our living room, watching ferries cross the dark water below. This view had sold us on the place. We'll never get tired of this, Brandon had promised, pulling me close. Another lie to add to the collection. My key turned before I could insert it. The door swung open to reveal Brandon, still in his work clothes, face flushed with anger. Security let me in. I still live here, Charlotte. Behind him, I glimpsed suitcases. His, but also ones I didn't recognize. Designer luggage that probably cost more than I made in a month. Actually, you don't. I stepped past him, noting the half-packed boxes. Not anymore. You can't just... Can't I? I pulled the deed from my purse, unfolding it slowly. Your signature, Brandon. Right there, transferring sole ownership to me. He snatched the paper, scanning frantically. I watched realization dawn, followed by rage. You manipulated me. I protected myself. Turns out my instincts were right. I moved toward the kitchen, needing distance. Vanessa can comfort you about it. Oh, wait, she's here, isn't she? As if summoned, she emerged from our bedroom. My bedroom, wearing one of my robes. Hello, Charlotte. She didn't even have the grace to look ashamed. Vanessa. I kept my voice steady, though my nails bit crescents into my palms. Still borrowing things that aren't yours, I see. Brandon's not a thing. He's a person who deserves better than a wife who trusted him? I laughed. You're right. He deserves exactly what he's getting. Brandon stepped between us. Charlotte, be reasonable. I'll buy you out. Fair market value. With what money? The earnest funds you illegally collected? I pulled out my phone. Should we call the buyers? Explain how you sold them property you don't own? His face drained of color. You wouldn't. Try me. I hit record on my phone, holding it openly. Actually, please keep talking. My lawyer loves evidence. Vanessa grabbed his arm. Brandon, what is she talking about? Nothing, she's bluffing. Am I? I played the voicemail from the real estate agent. His cheerful voice confirming the completed sale and thanking Brandon for the smooth transaction. The robe slipped from Vanessa's shoulder as she turned on him. You said the apartment was yours. You said the divorce was already final. It will be... You lied to me too? Her voice pitched higher. I left my job for this. I burned bridges for you. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Funny how that works? I said. He's quite talented at telling people what they want to hear. Vanessa stormed toward the bedroom. The sound of slamming drawers followed. Brandon chased after her, their argument echoing through walls that had heard too many lies. I sank onto the couch, my couch, and surveyed the half-packed disaster. 8 years, reduced to boxes and bitter accusations. My phone buzzed. Avery. Police are on their way with an emergency removal order. Brandon's got 30 minutes to leave. He's here now, with Vanessa. Perfect. 2 birds, 1 stone. She paused. You okay? I'm home, I said, surprising myself with the truth. In my apartment, that's enough for now. Through the bedroom door, their fight escalated. Something crashed. Probably the lamp he'd always hated. I smiled, pouring myself wine from the bottle we'd saved for our anniversary. Sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to let go. The confrontation at my door came 3 days later. Brandon stood flanked by Vanessa and a woman in a severe suit who could only be his lawyer. Behind them lurked my mother-in-law, Jill, her perfectly styled silver hair gleaming like armor. Charlotte, Jill's voice carried decades of practiced condescension. Let's discuss this like civilized people. I didn't move from his doorway. There's nothing to discuss. Brandon no longer lives here. This is marital property, the lawyer interjected. My client has rights. Your client committed fraud. Avery materialized beside me. I'd texted her from the peephole. Unless you'd like to discuss that with the authorities? The lawyer faltered, but Jill stepped forward. Charlotte, dear, do you really think you can win against this family? This family? As if I had never been part of it. As if 8 years of holidays and hospital visits meant nothing. I don't need to win against anyone, I said. I just need to keep what's mine. What's yours? Jill laughed, a sound like crystal breaking. You brought nothing to this marriage. A girl from nowhere with a father who gambled away and... Careful. My voice dropped low. You want to discuss family histories? Should we talk about the paper trail Brandon left? The one showing your signature on loan documents? Her smile flickered. Avery pulled out her tablet. Interesting thing about digital forensics. They can prove when signatures are forged, like these loans taken out in Charlotte's name, co-signed by you, Jill. Except you never signed them, did you? I watched her face carefully. Brandon did, but you knew. You helped him hide it. Vanessa stepped back, eyes widening. Brandon, what are they talking about? Nothing, they're lying. Check for yourself. Avery offered the tablet to Vanessa. 3 loans, $50,000 each, all requiring Charlotte's and Jill's signatures, all deposited into Brandon's business account. I watched Vanessa process this information, saw the moment she realized she'd hitched herself to a sinking ship. You forged your mother's signature too? She turned on Brandon. Your own mother? She knew, he protested. Mom, tell them. I don't know what you're talking about. Jill's voice was ice, but I caught the flash of panic in her eyes. No? Then you'll be happy to testify to that, under oath. Avery smiled pleasantly. I'm sure the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit would love to hear your perspective. The hallway fell silent except for the hum of fluorescent lights. I counted heartbeats, watching their alliance crumble in real time. This is entrapment, the lawyer finally managed. This is consequence, I corrected. Brandon, you have 2 choices. Walk away clean, no fraud charges, no FBI, or keep fighting and lose everything. You can't threaten... I'm not threatening. I'm offering mercy. I met his eyes, searching for any trace of the man I'd married. Found nothing. Sign the divorce papers. Stop the apartment sale. Disappear from my life, or I hand everything to the authorities Monday morning. Jill grabbed his arm. Take the deal. Mom? Take the deal, Brandon. Her mask had slipped, revealing something desperate underneath. Now, Vanessa was already backing toward the elevator, designer heels clicking rapid retreat. I can't. I need to think. Vanessa, wait. Brandon reached for her. She slapped his hand away. Don't. Just don't. The elevator swallowed her, leaving Brandon flanked by two women who'd enabled his worst impulses. His lawyer cleared her throat. We'll need time to review. 24 hours, Avery interrupted. Then the offer expires. They left in a cluster of wounded pride and whispered recriminations. I closed my door and slid down it, sitting on my hardwood floor. You okay? Avery Keyes crouched beside me. I just burned down 8 years of my life. No, she corrected gently. You cleared space to build something better. The boxes arrived 2 weeks later. Not Brandon's things. I'd had those sent to a storage unit. These were different. Older. A courier delivered them with papers requiring my signature. From the estate of William Evans, he explained, my father-in-law. Dead 3 years, but apparently still reaching from beyond. I opened the first box in my living room. Afternoon light streaming through windows I'd fought to keep. Inside were financial documents dating back decades. Loans, liens, bankruptcy filings, and photographs. Brandon as a child, gap-toothed and grinning. His father's hand on his shoulder in every shot, possessive and heavy. The second box held letters. I recognized Brandon's teenage handwriting, pleas to boarding schools. Please don't send me home for break. Can I stay on campus for Christmas? My father says I'm ungrateful, but I just want to study. My hands shook as I read. The Brandon in these letters was scared, desperate for escape. When had that frightened boy become a man who'd recreate his father's patterns? Avery arrived to find me surrounded by paper chaos. Charlotte, what is all this? I handed her a document. William took out credit cards in Brandon's name when he was 16, maxed them out, ruined his credit before he even graduated high school. She scanned it, whistling low. This is exactly what Brandon tried to do to you. I know. I picked up another photo. Brandon's college graduation. He stood alone, no family in sight. I used to forgive everything because he'd been abandoned. Told myself his need for control came from childhood instability. Trauma explains behavior, Avery said carefully. It doesn't excuse it. A knock interrupted us. I opened the door to find Jill, looking older without her usual armor of makeup and jewelry. May I come in? I almost said no, but something in her hunched shoulders made me step aside. She surveyed the boxes. Her son's history spread across my floor. William's lawyer was supposed to destroy these. Why didn't he? Because I paid him not to. She picked up a photo, fingers trembling. Evidence, in case Brandon ever truly became his father. You knew what he was capable of? I hoped. She sank into a chair. I hoped you'd save him, the way I couldn't save William. That wasn't my job, Jill. No, it wasn't. She met my eyes. The loans? Brandon did forge my signature, but I let him. Told myself it was helping him build his business. And stealing from me? I didn't know about that until the apartment sale. She pulled out an envelope. This is every cent he took, plus interest. It won't undo the betrayal, but I stared at the check. More zeros than I'd expected. Why? Because you're right. Consequences matter. She stood, smoothing her skirt. I failed my son by protecting him from his. Don't make my mistakes, Charlotte. When you have children with someone worthy, let them fail sometimes. Let them learn. She left me holding a check that could buy my freedom twice over. Avery whistled again. That's unexpected. All of this is. I gestured at the boxes. I married him thinking I could heal something broken. Classic rescue complex. You tried, Avery said. That's not a character flaw. No, but staying after the first red flag was. We spent the evening sorting documents, building the case that would finalize my divorce. Each paper felt like an exorcism, banishing ghosts of who we'd pretended to be. The courtroom smelled like old wood and justice. I sat beside Avery, watching Brandon fidget at the defendant's table. He'd lost weight, his designer suit hanging loose. Vanessa was nowhere to be seen. All rise for Judge Henderson. The fraud charges had fast-tracked our divorce. What might have dragged for years was compressed into weeks. Brandon's lawyer, a different one, cheaper, looked resigned. Mrs. Evans, the judge began. You're seeking divorce on grounds of financial fraud and infidelity? Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Evans, you've agreed to these terms? Brandon's yes was barely audible. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Dana, laid out the evidence: forged signatures, fraudulent loans, the attempted sale of property he didn't own. Each piece clicked into place like a puzzle, revealing an ugly picture. The state recommends probation and restitution, Dana concluded. Mr. Evans has agreed to full cooperation. Translation: he'd thrown everyone under the bus to avoid jail time. His lawyer made weak protests about misunderstandings and marital stress. Judge Henderson looked unimpressed. Mr. Evans, please stand. Brandon rose unsteadily. I saw his hands shake and felt nothing. The love, the pity, even the anger, all ash now. You're fortunate Mrs. Evans chose civil resolution over criminal prosecution, the judge said sternly. This court orders immediate divorce, full restitution of stolen funds, and transfer of all marital assets to Mrs. Evans. You're prohibited from contacting her except through legal counsel. The gavel fell like punctuation on our marriage. In the hallway afterward, Brandon's lawyer approached. My client wishes to speak with you. No, I said simply. He wants to apologize. Still no. Avery linked her arm through mine. We're done here. But we weren't. Not quite. The real estate agent who'd facilitated the fraudulent sale waited by the exit, wringing his hands. Behind him stood two people I recognized from property photos, the hopeful buyers. Mrs. Evans, I'm David Chen, and this is my wife Lisa. We're the ones who thought you were buying my apartment. I finished gently. I'm sorry you were caught in this. We wanted to apologize, Lisa said. We had no idea. Of course you didn't. Brandon's very convincing. David cleared his throat. We're testifying about what he told us, how he presented himself as sole owner. We kept recordings of our conversations. Another nail in Brandon's legal coffin. I thanked them, watched them leave hand in hand. They'd find their dream home elsewhere, without the stain of deception. Outside the courthouse, Seattle's spring rain had started. Cherry blossoms clung to wet branches, pink petals like hope against gray sky. How do you feel? Avery asked. Free. The word tasted true. Scared, but free. Good scared or bad scared? I don't know yet. We drove to her office to sign final papers. Each signature felt like shedding skin. Charlotte Evans dissolved into Charlotte, just Charlotte, undefined by anyone else's last name. The apartment's entirely yours now, Avery confirmed. No liens, no claims, clean slate. It doesn't feel like home anymore. Then change it or sell it. Point is, you get to choose. Choice. Such a simple word for something I'd surrendered without realizing. That night, I stood in my empty apartment, Brandon's things finally gone, and opened every window. Spring air flooded in, carrying rain and possibility. My phone buzzed. An unknown number, but I recognized the area code. Colorado, where my college roommate Sarah lived. Charlotte, I heard about everything. Listen, I'm looking for a PR director for my ski resort. Interested in a change of scenery? I looked around my beautiful prison, then out at Seattle's lights. Tell me more. The estate sale felt like surgery, necessary but painful. I watched strangers finger through 8 years of accumulated life, assigning dollar values to memories. How much for the dining set? A young couple held hands, eyes bright with new home dreams. $300, I said, remembering how Brandon and I had saved for months to buy it. It's solid oak, good for a growing family. They beamed, and I felt something unlock in my chest. Maybe our things could have the future we wouldn't. Avery helped me sort keep from sell. The wedding china went. The coffee maker stayed. Our bed frame sold to a college student. I'd already bought a new one that had never held the shape of two bodies growing apart. Charlotte, a familiar voice made me turn. Marcus from our building's maintenance stood awkwardly by the door. Last year, he'd helped me when my car broke down, spending an hour in the rain fixing what turned out to be a simple fuse. Brandon had mocked me for thanking him with cookies. Hey, Marcus, looking for anything specific? Actually, he shifted his weight. I wanted to see if you're okay. Thomas mentioned the situation. The situation. Such a polite euphemism for the spectacular implosion of my marriage. I'm managing, I said. Thanks for asking. He nodded toward a bookshelf. Are you selling that? Everything's for sale. Even the books? I laughed. When had that become easy again? Especially the books. Too many to move. Where are you moving? Not sure yet. Maybe Colorado, maybe California. Somewhere that doesn't rain emotions. He smiled, and I noticed he had kind eyes. Rain can be cleansing too. Very poetic for a maintenance man. I read your books while you're at work, he admitted, gesturing at my library. You have good taste. Lots of poetry. Brandon had called my poetry collection a waste of space. I'd caught him using a first edition Neruda as a coaster once. Tell you what, I said impulsively. Pick any 5 you want. My gift. I couldn't, please. They should go to someone who'll appreciate them. He selected carefully Mary Oliver, Rumi, a beaten copy of Leaves of Grass, Maya Angelou, and, surprisingly, a technical manual on sustainable architecture. That last one's not poetry, I pointed out. Depends on how you read it. He cradled the books carefully. I'm actually studying architecture at night. This building is just temporary. Like everything, I thought but didn't say. By evening, the apartment was stripped to bones. I kept only what fit in my car. Clothes, laptop, the glass lamp from our first apartment that Brandon had always hated, and a box of photos I wasn't ready to sort. Thomas helped me load the last items. Gonna miss you around here, Mrs. Evans. Just Charlotte now, I corrected. And I'll miss you too. That Marcus is a good kid, he said apropos of nothing. Helped Mrs. Chen move her mother in last month. Wouldn't take any money for it. I filed that information away, unsure why it mattered. The apartment echoed empty. Sunset painting bare walls gold. I did a final walkthrough, checking closets and corners. In the bedroom closet, tucked behind where Brandon's suits had hung, I found it. Our wedding album. I sat on the floor, flipping through pages of 2 strangers playing at forever. We looked so certain, so blind to the fault lines already forming. I left it on the counter with a note. For the next dreamers, may you do better. The door locked behind me with a definitive click. 1 year later, Santa Barbara stretched golden below my office window. Nothing like Seattle's moody grays. I'd chosen it over Colorado, drawn by sun and possibility. Charlotte, your 3 o'clock is here. My assistant, one I'd hired myself, trusted completely, smiled from the doorway. Phoenix Rising. PR occupied a converted Victorian near State Street. We specialized in reputation rehabilitation for women starting over. Divorcees, abuse survivors, women leaving cults or toxic industries. I'd found my niche in the ashes of my own story. Send her in, Amy. My client looked like I had a year ago. Hollow-eyed, shoulders curved inward, wearing confidence like an ill-fitting costume. I don't know where to start, she admitted. My ex-husband destroyed my professional reputation along with everything else. We start with truth, I said. Your truth, then we build from there. That's what I'd learned. Renovation requires demolition first. After she left, homework assigned, hope kindled, I walked to the farmer's market. Santa Barbara pulsed with life. Artists and tech workers, surfers and retirees, all mixing in cheerful chaos. Charlotte, I turned to find Marcus, impossible but real, holding a basket of oranges. What are you doing here? We said it simultaneously, then laughed. I got into UC Santa Barbara, he explained. Architecture program, transferred last quarter. That's amazing. Congratulations. What about you? Last I heard you were considering Colorado. Changed my mind. Too cold. I gestured at the endless blue sky. This suits me better. We fell into step naturally, wandering between vendor stalls. He'd traded his maintenance uniform for jeans and a faded t-shirt, looking younger, lighter. How's the business? He'd clearly done his research. Growing, scary, but good scary. And the apartment? Sold it 6 months ago. To David and Lisa Chen, actually. The couple Brandon tried to defraud. They got their dream home after all. Poetic justice. Something like that. We stopped for coffee at a stand run by an elderly Mexican couple who knew my order by heart now. Marcus insisted on paying. For the books, he said. I still read them. All of them? Especially the architecture manual. You were right to keep that lamp, by the way. I saw it in your office window. It's a genuine Tiffany reproduction. Worth more than Brandon probably knew. I laughed, really laughed. Of course it is. We exchanged numbers before parting. Not a date, not yet. Just possibility, tentative and unforced. That night, I sat on my tiny balcony overlooking the ocean. My apartment was a quarter the size of apartment 73, but every inch was mine. No ghosts, no shadows, No one else's dreams taking up space. My phone lit with a text from an unknown number. Thank you for sharing your story on the podcast. You saved my life. I'm leaving him tomorrow. 6 months ago, I'd done an interview about financial abuse in marriages. The messages hadn't stopped since women finding courage in my cautionary tale. I texted back, "You're saving your own life. I'm just proof it's possible." The sun set in flames over the Pacific. Somewhere, Brandon was living whatever life he'd built on scorched earth. Jill sent Christmas cards I didn't open. Vanessa had started her own firm. We competed for clients now, professionally, if not cordially. And me? I was learning that home isn't an apartment number or a ring on your finger. It's the space you create after the fire, built on foundations you pour yourself. Tomorrow, I had 3 client meetings, a conference call with a publisher interested in my story, and dinner with new friends who knew me only as Charlotte, no last name needed. Tonight, though, I sat with my glass lamp casting prisms on the wall, reading Mary Oliver by fading light. Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? I finally knew the answer. Live it. Just live it. Without apology, without looking back, without ever again making myself small enough to fit in someone else's shadow. Apartment 73 had been my pyre. But here, in this modest space filled with light and possibility, I'd built my nest. Phoenix, indeed. And the view? Infinite.